Hi everybody, I'm Lee Carroll. I am the original channel of Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. There would be those who would say this, that the transition was too quick. And that all you hear now is what you've been hearing for 5 hours. And they would say that it is the voice of the human being pretending to channel. Are those exact words we have said many other times. It is those who can see and feel the energy and will know that in this place there is a change, and that the communication is real. Starting from the back of the room forward, the entourage begins its journey until it reaches the stage. I know some who feel it and some who don't. And we say this as we've been said before, if you are one who is here in disbelief, this is not a time to convince you. And all we would ask of you is to open your heart and allow for a moment. What if this was real? What if this is real? Would you allow Spirit to touch you and to show you it is? Would that be too much? What have you got to lose? And then there are those who know that this is a time that is exactly as predicted. That what is here is what you think is here. That there is an energy on the other side of the veil, which many of you call God or Spirit, that is a family and connected to you. And this process is a completion of the connection for this time. That this process is one which speaks to many of you at the same time, and this same process is the one that you personally have. And it may not speak to you in these words, in this way, in this language, but it's still the process. Could it be that you are hearing Kryon, a piece of the creative energy which comes to you in your reality through the channel who sits in the chair? And some will believe it and some who won't. So this is for those who understand and believe. This is for those who've gathered in this room. A message for all, but specifically for you. Some messages, they contain physics. Some messages, they contain concepts. Some messages are predictions and facts. I present this one for the season. What is the season? They call it the holidays. In linearity, where I am, in the culture that I sit in, it is a pronouncement of faith in the Master of Love. And so it becomes a holiday of love, a time of gift giving, and a time of great stress. I am Kryon, and I want to give you something from my perspective for the holiday. And if I'm going to do it accurately, I'm going to do it in this way. I'm going to represent my partner's case for singularity. Call it an extension of the channels we've been giving for weeks, if you will. I'm going to call it this: Promises from a Personal God. Oh, human being, there's such a singularity in the way you think, It is your bias. It is the way you are. And every single one of you, including my partner, has it. It is what you are learning to get around. It is what you are learning to circumvent. But how does a human learn to think differently? In your reality, the singularness creates one soul, one human being, one truth, one God, one belief, one way that is right when all the others are not. That is the bias, is it not? And in there is created what we would call rules of men. And the rules of men tell you how it works. And as my partner says, depending upon the box that you go to, the rules change. And I want to give you the truth. From my perspective, I want to eliminate the bias. I want to take you in a circle for a moment and hold hands with you and tell you about a God of promise. In this great shift, in this holiday season, in a time of love, I would like to de-stress this moment. And so I'm going to give you the promises that I've prepared. Oh, it won't take long. But the energy in which this is given is a love so strong that the ages are involved here. And I'm going to present it to my partner in a way he can't miss it. He can't miss it. It'll soar through the Akash, through the creation of the planet before humans ever arrived, giving you the promises of the Creator. So you can sit in the chairs and hear it and decide what it means to you. Promise number one. It's not going to sound like a promise. This is a quantum attribute. It doesn't sound like a promise. It sounds like a statement. It's a promise. And here is the basis of all basis. Truth is love. Now that's a quantum statement for you. For all of that is fraught with pregnant potential for misunderstanding. Truth means so many things to so many people. Love means so many things to so many people. Think of this. The truth of God, the truth of life, the truth of all doctrines on the planet, the truth of the facts is love. And it is the love that God has for humanity, and the love that humanity has back for God. This is the cycle which cannot be diminished with intellect. This is the cycle and the truth that cannot be broken. For it's not a straight line, it's a circle, and it always will be. This is discovery. Truth is love. And you can build around it all the paradigms you wish of how things work. You can create steps around it if you choose. You can make doctrines around it if you choose. You can make it your own and exclusive to you if you choose. But you can't break the circle. You cannot dismiss the intuition of humanity. And that's promise number one. Truth is love. A promise that will never, ever change. If you could surround one word that's an action word around that, I'll give it to you. It's discovery. Can you discover it? Out of the intellect, how do I touch the face of God? What are the processes? There are none. When the mother touches the face of the newborn for the first time, how many steps are there, Mom? How many books did you have to read, Mom? I'll tell you, it was with the heart, was it not? Touch the face of the infant for the first time, right from your womb. Do you remember it? For the first time. That's a promise, you see. Promise number two, your family. The promise is this, that every single human being used to be a piece of God. That's a promise. That's not a fact. It's not a statement. That's a gift I give you. Information you need to know. The family of God is bigger than you think. The family of God includes your Akashic record. All of the humans you used to be. All the names that are printed in there. All of the soul energies that are a piece and part of the higher self. The one soul that is you. It has been here over and over and over. That's family. Combine it with those in the room and their souls, gosh, combine it with the God essence. That is family. Why is it a promise, Kryon? What does it mean, a promise? It's a promise that there is purpose here. That you're not bouncing around in a random life with no direction. Now that's your choice, family member. But if you will come into the fold and understand that there's energies surrounding you that are profoundly guide producing with purpose, the first thing that happens is the big aha. I really am part of something. And the second is peace. When there's purpose, there's peace. And that's number two. Number three is difficult for me to give you without the emotion that goes with it. This is a personal God you have. Personal because you are part of it. Personal because it knows your name. Not the human being's name. No. The name of your soul. The name of your life lesson. The name of the quantum you. The name of the light that you are when you're not here. I know who you are. And so does every other piece of creation. Have you ever gazed upon nature in all of its wonder and its beauty? Have you ever sat in a place filled with so much beauty that it just overwhelms your senses and makes you weep? Have you ever had that? If you have, you know that you've just been recognized by every rock and every tree. And the very wind that blows in your face calls your name. Part of creation you are, and you just met yourself. That's why humans cry at beauty. when they stand on the mountaintop and the clouds clear and the sun rises, and they cry. They can't help it, because the dirt greets them. Snow greets them. The very essence of nature itself sings their name. We know you. That's the promise of personal God. We're not a statue. We're not a doctrine. We're not removed. We're not even in the sky. We're with every heartbeat of the human being. Beautiful it is. And the primary word is discovery. Number 4, we care. Why should God care for human beings? God is so big. Humans are so small. God created the universe. How small must a human being be? How big is your higher self? You have no idea. It is a universal presence that has a name, an identity, and it's not singular. Human being, I cannot tell you, because you cannot fathom the purpose of the higher self. It is part of creation itself. It is the piece of God that is God. It's the part you split off from when you come down to be a human being. It is you in the God suit. When you look up at the sky, when you see the Milky Way, it is you in the God suit that is the universe. And it cares about you. It cares enough to know your name. It cares enough that when you make a decision to co-create, when you make a decision to push on that door of knowingness, even to sit and be loved, it's there. You can't break the circle. Oh, you can ignore it. And so many do. As being frivolous. Of not being so or true. But you can't break the circle. Truth is love. Number 5 and number 6 are filled with promise. These are new promises. I would like to give you this information so you know it. Number 5 is this. Deep within your Akash is everything you've ever learned on this planet. And here is the promise that you never move backwards, that everything you've ever learned comes in again. These are new times. In this that you call metaphysics, which is simply the way things work, there is something added, and it is this, that the jar of spirituality that you've learned through life experience over and over is kept from life to life, and the next time you arrive, it is still intact. This is our promise. Dear human being, listen to me, that the next time you arrive on this planet, should you choose to open the jar of your knowledge, out will spill the shaman that you are or used to be, and everything you learned in 2009, 2010, 2011, until the last breath you take. All that is yours, that you call knowledge, enlightenment, comes in again. And you can pick up where you left. How is that for a promise? Free will may not let you want to. And that's free will. But if you want to, you'll remember it. And remembrance is the active word here in this promise. For without knowing the actual facts of who you were, or where you've been, or how you've learned it, out will come spilling the knowledge of the ages. And you will process it and go from there. You never have to learn it again. My promise to you today, it should make you feel pretty good. Because as I sit here and look at this group, every single one of you is coming back. You're not going to miss what you started. You're not going to miss what you started. Number 6, it is new. It is a promise never spoken by Kryon. It is a promise of a new energy and of a quantum awareness. And here it is. Be careful, my partner, how you state this. For let it ring with the truth that is there, and also with the power of the Akashic quantum mind. Humans are becoming more quantum. There is an interface with the Akash going on that I have been talking about now for years. And in these months, I have asked you to mine the Akash. That is to go and pick up those attributes which are yours, which you've earned in what you call past lives, which we call current life energy, that it literally is part of the soup of who you are. Here is something new. You have a consciousness now, a desire, a passion. And with this comes Akashic choice. For the first time, I am telling you now that you can choose now certain attributes of the Akash when you return. What you have thought of in the past as randomness of the gender that you're going to be, where you're going to live, and more. I'm going to tell you, you have control of it. And with repeated Akashic intent to cement this fully into your dynamic quantumness, you can physically choose what's going to happen the next time around. Listen to me. Are you allied with a partner? And you cannot conceive of being without them? Listen to me. What did I tell you was truth? It's love. Perhaps you're in love so deeply with the one you're with, or going to be with, or have been with. And you want to relive it. You don't want it to stop in this lifetime, and you would love to have it continue the next time around. Perhaps you've lost somebody. Well, you haven't. You have the ability of claiming this Akash. It's a promise. It is new. Even with partnership. And with their permission. And they'll give it to you. The two of you can cement an agreement to meet again. And to continue the love affair. And that's just the beginning. What is your passion? Do you enjoy the gender you are? Then repeat it. Do you like the talents you have? Would you like them to be enhanced? Then claim it. It is the first time we have ever given this information to you. This is power. This is power of a quantum thinker. To look inside the Akash and arrange it for the next time. the option is there for discovery. And it brings me to the last one, the simplest one, the one that'll never change. A promise. A promise. You're never alone. Stated in the first channel Kryon ever gave over 20 years ago, in private to my partner. These are the words that he heard. I am Kryon of magnetic service, and you are never alone. Because you're not singular. In 3 dimensions, the mirror says you are. If you had a multi-D mirror, you'd see the truth. Pieces and parts of you surround you, guides and helpers, angels. Whatever you call angels, whatever you think they are, they're not even singular. You can't give them names. Go ahead. If it makes you feel good, put skin and wings on them. Put a halo on them, give them a name. That's not who they are. Oh, it's bigger than that. And they're not singular either. And you're never alone. In your darkest moment, you're never alone. I want you to remember this. In your last breath. Right before the light comes on. In your last breath. So that there is no fear. As you meet the family. And you discover everything I have said today is accurate and true. And the operative word is remembrance and love. This is the holiday message. It's a holiday message for everyone, not just to celebrate this holiday. For the truth is that every single day could be like this. Peaceful. Whole. Wise. Without heartache. Without worry. With Akashic knowledge. And the promise of the future. This is the message of Kryon for you today. And there will be those who know I'm talking right to them. And one of them is my partner. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of magnetic service. There would be those who would wonder about the process to the degree they would say impossible it is for a human being to switch this quickly from one side of the veil to the other, to be literally with one foot with a higher self. And I'll say this to you, the impossibility of it would only be there if the higher self did not want the human being to cross. You must know this, that as my partner spoke to you today about the love of God, this is the way of it. For God is the parent energy. And this parent energy sees you in your singularity and loves you in this fashion. We would give anything to void the rules of free choice, to show ourselves in a fashion that made you understand we're here. But on this planet of free choice, it is you who must open the door to us. We stand like the angels we are in your lives, walking the whole duration. At the point at which you are born on this planet, the angels surround the table, or they surround the pool, or they surround whatever it is that you have chosen to come in. And they stay with you. And in those beginning days, literally in those beginning weeks, you might see the infant with the wide eyes looking at the angels. The infant will point. Sometimes the infant will even smile, even in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Because the infant recognizes us. All of you did it. All of you did it. Indeed, in those early days, where there is so much change, in those early days when there's so much to get used to, and there's so much shift being out of the womb, the angels are a comfort to the infant, and you all were there. And slowly that reality slips from you. Slowly. But all of you have seen it. When the infant looks into what you call empty space and is pleased with what they see. These are the same angels. They don't age, you do. That have been with you all your lives. They walk beside you. They came in with you. They'll leave with you. And if you never speak to them, they will say nothing. For that is the agreement. But oh, dear human being, if you just give us one little space of intent, and you say, dear God, show me that I'm loved, you open the floodgate. For this is when we enter your life to the degree you will allow us. This is when we will give you what you ask for. Begin the synchronicity. Begin the teaching. Begin the hand holding so there is no more being alone. Fill you up to such a degree that you will not be concerned with disease or age or drama. And all you will see is the promise of who you are. This has always been the way of it since the day we began. There are still those who wonder about the process, this process of channeling. It works when the channeler is clear. It works when the bias is set aside. It is the way of it and has always been the way of it. All scripture on the planet written by men. Take a look at how this works, human being. For you, by yourselves, are responsible for all the prophecy, for all the good things that you would find in those words that comfort you, you say are from God, all written by men and women. And so it is again that we come before you with information. The information given this evening for those who are in the room in what you would call real time, for those who are listening and hearing in what you call your future, know this: all of the information I give has at some point been given in the last 20 years. We have never given you this synopsis, for we are starting to summarize subjects for simplicity, for clarity, so that they begin to be less obtuse, so they become more present in your reality. Plain speaking and plain words are the call of the day. But we don't want to start yet. How many of you in here are aware of what is also in here? Let the energy of this moment not be lost upon you, for this is real. What you hear here is not a human being pretending to channel. Let those in this place who are astute and who sense the energy of spirit look upon him now and see the colors that would betray the fact that this is actually happening. Feel the energy of Spirit as it comes to you in a way that only Spirit can, to prove to you that this is real. Feel those you've loved and lost in the room now. And this will show you that what is happening at this moment is as it seems. This is the gift. From our standpoint, the gift is that you would sit and let us wash your feet. And while my partner gives you information, the third language will be present in all the hearts here. And some of those who are listening will be touched as well. For we know who you are as your ears hear these words. For we see you there. And we see your faces and we see the light that you have as well. Let the information given today be passed to many. This information we are going to call the lineage of DNA. From the start of DNA to today. The way it occurred on the planet, the way it works, and all of the things that you need to know around it to get you to the place where you can use it. And we must start where my partner started, even today in his lecture series. For much of this is as he mentioned. But for those who are not here, we start at the beginning. We start with history. Question has been asked, Kryon, why is it you speak of DNA? It is a biological attribute of the human body. It is the blueprint for the human genome. It writes all of the genes, over 30,000 of them. Why would you speak of this? You don't speak of molecular substances. You don't speak of chemistry. Why would you speak of DNA? Instead, speak to us about spiritual things. It has been said. The criticism has been put forward. The disappointment is registered. And there are those who don't understand why we speak of DNA. So let me tell you, dear one, if you are one of those, it is time to reveal your DNA is that which is the core element of who you are. If you had to pick a place where the higher self is, it's in your DNA. The Akashic record, the blueprint of everything you ever were, is there. All of the lifetimes, all of your spiritual growth, all of your talents are there. The karma that you came in with and that many of you have dismissed, the record of that is there. Some of you understand this to the degree that you know you were Lemurian. And if you were, and if you feel this way, you know of the incredible profundity of what's inside. That is the reason we speak of these things. And it's only been in the last few years that science has given you the proof of what we are going to speak of now. We have alluded to this in the past. And now we'll just say it straight out. Your DNA is over 3 billion chemicals strong. Each piece of DNA, which is a loop, has over 3 billion chemicals in it. A molecule so small that you need an electron microscope to see it has 3 billion parts. The Human Genome Project has revealed, however, that these parts are a mystery. And that only 3% do anything. And those 3% of protein encoded portion of the DNA chemistry produce over 30,000 human genes. It is the blueprint that you were looking for, but only 3% did anything. Over 90%, therefore, is a mystery. And the mystery continues, for there is no symmetry within the 90% of the chemistry. You can see no codes. It seems a random event has occurred, and some have called it junk. Some chemists are convinced that DNA is left over from the evolutionary process and is no longer used by the human being because there is no pattern, there is no code, it does nothing. And the rest of you know better. Evolution and Mother Nature and Gaia all together are very efficient when it comes to human biology and to life in general, whether it's photosynthesis all the way to the human genome. They throw away things that are not used. It is not junk. I will tell you what it is. And in the revelation, yet again, I want you to ponder what it could mean. And that is this: 90% of your DNA is literally the quantum blueprint of your divinity. It is the quantum blueprint of your Akash. It is the record of all lifetimes, all things accomplished, all growth, all epiphany, all failure. For those of you who call yourselves Lemurians, it represents a vast amount of experience on the planet. Vast. All the way from the beginning, which we are going to speak of. Therefore, it is important that we speak of DNA. When 90% of it is literally the pattern which drives the 3%, think of it this way. 3% of DNA is the engine of the vehicle you ride in. 90% are the instructions for the engine. And in that 90%, dear ones, I would like to tell you, is human consciousness. And in human consciousness, there is your ability to talk to it, to control it, to work with it. One of the first things we ever told you is that humans are in charge of humans. They're in charge of the earth. Consciousness moves the earth. Consciousness is what is responsible for the vibration of the planet. And you have always, through human consciousness, been able to speak to your own DNA through the 90%, which is quantum. Human thought is quantum. So there is the workings of it, spoken in a clear fashion. And it's only because of the development of the human genome and the revelation of the 90% that seems to do nothing that we can speak now of what it really does. And it's going to make sense to science at some point in time. When they take a look at that 90% and they don't see it as coding, but they see it as engrams, as ways of sending modifiers to the 3%, which is the engine. There's a problem, however. It doesn't work well. It doesn't work at all, as a matter of fact. We spoke of this 1 month ago. We spoke of this 2 months ago. This is a review. Your cellular structure is weak. It does not represent what was given to you. Your immune system is horrible. Almost every disease on the planet goes right around it. Did you notice? You can't even stop a common cold. 90% of your DNA developed into a way to give instructions to the 3%, and yet the 3% can't do its job. And there's a problem here, you might say, and there is. For the 90% of your DNA that's supposed to be quantum is only at a 30% efficacy rate. That is to say, it's only 30% efficient. And we gave you that information some time ago. I'll give you the things we said then. Just briefly, I'll say this. How does it make you feel to know that you could have cancer in your system and your body will never tell you? You've got to go to another human and have a test to find out what your body is doing. What kind of a system is that? The self-diagnostics that have been built into the human being doesn't work. When a nerve is severed in your spinal cord, there's a chemistry that races to that area and keeps them from growing back together. Did you know that? Just the opposite of what you want. A starfish can grow back an arm, you can't. How does that feel, being the top of the evolutionary ladder? All of this because there is a DNA that is not functioning as it should. If you ever wondered about that, this is the fact. It does not function as it should. Let me take you back to the beginning. And here it is laid out so that anyone can see it and hear it, and all of the attributes of it. You need to hear it 100,000 years ago. There were up to 17 kinds of human beings in development, just like the variety of nature would call for regarding some of the other mammals. Just like there are hundreds of kinds of monkeys. Just like there's a tremendous variety in so many mammals, animals, but not in the human being. But there was then. Go back with me 100,000 years, you'll see that documented. And then it happened. And some of you hearing this are not going to like this. This was the lecture of today. I give it to you again, for not all of you were here. Listen. A beautiful thing happened. Something happened by design. You were waiting for it when you were creating the planet, dear ones. When you were with me watching it cool down, you knew this would happen.
So here we are at the end of a long day, and this group is an extraordinary group because you came early, you stayed throughout the day, and you came back for another 2 hours with us. So true seekers, true light workers. And this intimate group, we are lighting a match for the planet right now. And boy, does it need it, right? So with that, I invite you to close your eyes and use this moment to return to the essence of your soul, the essence of your eternal soul. It's a flame that never goes out, a continual burning of light, the place where we can recharge our cellular structure when we give intent to connect with that essence of our soul. Where is it that your energy comes from? Where is it that the healing comes from? Where is it that the love emanates from? There is nowhere, because it is both inside and outside. It is that essence of your soul that exists everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And so the invitation is to let all the busyness of the thoughts in your mind dissolve away into the nothingness of the eternal soul, And from this place of the burning eternal flame, let us welcome in the final message from Kryon for this day.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Questions have always been asked about the awareness of Spirit, of the Creator. And what I mean by that is how much we know about you. And sometimes it's asked in a fearful way, like we would know too much. I would like to tell you, we know every soul here, every soul here. In other words, we know the essence of you. We know the love that you were born within, of the creative source. It may be interesting for you to think about that. We know everything you've been through. Those guides that you have that we've talked about even today, the ones who come in with you, in such an esoteric way that we can't even describe it. Since they're not physical and they're not really energy, they're something else. Something that hasn't even been studied yet. Something entirely spiritual. You might say they're in every piece and part of your DNA, and yet they stand aside as well. You might say that they're a field around you, waiting to help. That doesn't help you much, because you think in 4 dimensions, very logical. But they're there, and so are we. You are never alone, and I said that to my partner. This will be the slogan, if you wish to have something that is marketing on this entity called Kryon, which is not an entity at all. It's an energy of love. You are unique, each one. You come into this planet, you have biological differences. When you're raised, you have things implanted into you which then become your subconscious, which then you have to work with. Some positive, some not. And it makes you who you are. What you believe, how you believe, and how much you think about what you can do. You're born into a very modern culture with a very old way of treating humanity. How many of you can stand up and say, I have a lot of self-worth? And the answer is not that many. Or if you do, it's not really true. We can tell. We know. We know what you've been through, what you've been told. We know that you fight a battle if you were to stand up and state that to anybody, in a group especially, because you've been told to cool it a little. Because people will think that you're a little too much or perhaps a little too egotistical. And yet there are those of you here who are giants of majesty in love. In this room. We know you. And you don't talk loud. And you don't talk much. But you love humans, all of them. And you've learned some things this lifetime, before that. We have 3 shamans in this group. We have a whole number of spiritual leaders, some on organized religion in the past. We have 3 nuns, not now, but in the past life. I think you know who you are. This is who is in this group. The chances are very high that this is not the first lifetime when you're discovering a spiritual overview that leads you into questioning yourself. How big really am I in the eyes of God? And the answer is enormous. I want you to know that. I want you to know that if you could really pull away the veil, that whoever you are, whatever age you are, whatever you think about yourself, we see you as one of the brightest lights that could be on the planet. Because we know that which you are learning and that which you are applying to everyday life. It's astonishing what you're not aware of. I could show it to you, but that doesn't work that way. I can tell you about it, and that's okay. You might say that spirit has rules. They're not as much as rules as an honoring of the process. And the honoring is this. You come into this planet with free choice. There's a reason for that. People have asked, well, what is the entire reason of life? Why are we living like we are living? Why does spirit do what it does? If I gave it to you, it would be in a language you couldn't understand. It would be illogical because you don't have a language of love. Oh, if you only knew that which goes on in this universe, in this galaxy, and how are you related to it? Oh, I'll tell you this. I'll give you a hint. This planet is increasing in light. It really is. It may not look like it right now. It is. Other planets have gone through what you are going through. Decisions, light and dark. What you'll tolerate, what you won't. What you really want on the planet and what you don't. That's where you are. But I'll tell you, the light that you strike here, called planet Earth, is measurable in consciousness by other planets, by other groups of planets, some of whom are very aware of you and are waiting for you to join a consciousness group who also understands what's going on. What you do here, specifically in the next 100 years, will change that which is what we'll call the light quotient of the galaxy. The more planets that go into that which is awareness changes the galactic framework, if you want to say. I'm trying to give you words that don't make sense because the language of spirit is not human. But love is. All this to say, you're really important. All of you. What happens here, what happens to you, what happens next to you, and what happens eventually with those around you. Yes, I'm speaking of other planets. They've always been there. Do you really think that this is the only planet that developed life? Honestly, you really think that? When everywhere your scientists look in the galaxy, you have the same elements with the same processes. What are the chances in trillions of planets that one or two might have this happen? And the answer is, it wasn't one or two. It was thousands have had this happen, called life. You always want to make them look strange and different and monstrous. What if most of them looked like you? Would that shock you? That the same process happened there as here, and it had a little push or a tweak like you did. That perhaps your DNA is not necessarily that of Earth. What if I told you that? That's getting a little too strange, perhaps. All in love. There is something else going on. It's big, and you're part of it. Can't you feel it? Old soul, can't you feel it? There are processes you have yet to discover that are wonderful and beautiful and will be seen, acknowledged, tested, and proven that have to do with your DNA. You have no clue. Medical experts, professionals, don't want to test the things that I'll tell you about. What if I told you that the energy of love and compassion affects your DNA? Your DNA, actually, the chemistry of your DNA has antennas on it. That's the best receptors on it. That's the best I can give you that you will understand. And that's not accurate. But let's say that you can visualize that and you can see that. And when love comes around and when compassion comes around, it starts to change not just your mind or your consciousness, it goes right into your chemistry and makes a change and gives you opportunities to change your own life, your own chemistry. It starts a process of cascading positive love if you want it to. You might receive it and reject it, not even know it. Because you weren't designed, you would say, in this life to do it, or somebody told you you couldn't. The worst one is when you have a spiritual guide who says you're not worthy to talk to God. That's happened too, hasn't it? But here's the truth. There are those processes within you that respond to esoteric things and start a process within you. Now, my partner alluded to it, but even he doesn't understand it. Perhaps you're here for the first time and you think all of this is nonsense. Give it a couple of years. Because if it's true, it festers. That's the best word I have. It attaches itself as true. Love, compassion, kindness. And you can't get rid of it. And then you have the opportunity to let it grow or not. And if it does, it leads you to examination of yourself, perhaps. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? How can I improve this? How can I be a better human being for those around me? It starts to go in that direction by itself. And you're saying, well, what is that? Is that some psychological process that I'm not aware of? And the answer is, no, it is not. It's a DNA process. What does DNA have to do with how you think? Everything. In 2012, the scientists made an interesting discovery. They discovered what the rest of the human genome did. Once they mapped the human genome, there was this mystery. They only saw 3%. It created the genes. What does the rest do? Over 90. What does it do? Everything. It's responsible for who you are. It even includes your Akashic record. It's esoteric. It's splendor. It's all the things that you wish were you are there. And you don't know it yet. There is so much hidden in this old energy. But when it starts to change, things change for you. You have already experienced some minor shifts in your culture, and you have not celebrated it as though it were different. And yet it is. Hundreds and hundreds of years in your culture, a sameness was there of old energy and the way people worked and how they acted to each other, and the biases were always there. And suddenly, in your lifetime, it starts to change and shift. Have you noticed? What do you think about the Me Too movement? How long has that been going on? How long? And the answer is your grandfather, your grandfather's grandfather, your grandfather's father's grandfather. It never changed. Oh, but it did in your lifetime. Now, that ought to tell you something. People are starting to care more about each other. They're trying to make bias differently. And you'd say, well, good luck with that, because it's always been a certain way. Yes, it has. Watch it change. The world is starting to decide what it wants. And right now, it has a far higher level than it did when you were born. Did you notice? Did you feel it? Are you aware of it? This is the shift. you're magnificent. That's what love can do. The more love you can give and receive, the more you can love that which is yourself, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that says, I count. I hold a light. And I'm going to show my light by how compassionate I am. Because I am loved by God, I am loved by myself. I count. And if you can go to that place, dear ones, your DNA starts to shift. Because the love that you've come in with, called that Creator, starts to manifest even within your chemistry. And the first thing that happens is you start to realize you're living longer. And that's another story. Is it possible that consciousness can change lifespan? Ask a physician who works in an operating room about that one. And they will say it all depends on the attitude of the patient of whether they survive or not. They've watched those who are elders keeping themselves alive literally until their grandchildren will graduate from a school and then they pass. What does that tell you? Consciousness is in control of your chemistry. That's just number one of so many points that we have taught. But the big one, love chases away fear. Love chases away that which is the attribute of a person without self-worth. Compassion winds its way through your DNA in such an interesting way. And then one day you wake up and you say, I'm different. I feel different. I'm not afraid. I'm treating people differently, and I didn't study anything. And then they realize there's been a change, not just in how they think, but their very chemistry of their body. Living longer, being more healthy, all of these things controlled by you. And the control that you have, the king of that is love. Is there anything more I could give you than that which might save your life? And there are so many who don't believe it, who don't want to go there, and the guides will just stand next to you, if you want to call it that, and watch you even go into self-destruction. And they won't say a word until you ask, Dear Spirit, what is it I need to know? Do you have the courage to ask that tonight? Dear God, Spirit, all around me right now, what is it I need to know? And then be quiet. Instead of asking for this or asking for that, or deciding you need this or that, you just let it go. Dear Spirit, tell me what it is right now I need to know. And then in the quietness that follows, your intuition eventually will start to poke certain places, and some of you won't like it. I told you I wanted to know that, but not that one. Don't go there. Get ready for it. But understand that that's pure truth. What is it you need to know? Might hurt. Might not be what you want to know. But believe me, some of these things will save your life. Because you ask, and because we love you. Blessed is the human being who has the courage to believe what they don't know and ask the question with pure intent about what should be theirs to know and what might help them the best right this minute. For these are the ones that are heroes of this age. These are the ones who will carry more light than any other. And there are a few in this room who know exactly what I'm talking about. Heroes in the making, the subject of the day. I could stay and tell you more. But sometimes you'll get into overwhelm. I just want you to know what we've been telling you. There are processes you're not aware of that center around that which you think is an emotion, and it is not. Love is not an emotion. It's a state of mind. It's a being. It's an energy that is divine and carries with it multidimensional energy that actually works in your DNA. That's the message. I'm crying in love with you all. And so it is.
And with that, I invite you to close your eyes so that you can connect in with what is happening for you in this now moment. And I really do encourage you to close your eyes so that you can just temporarily pause any distractions of outside stimulus and truly go deeply within the core of your being. And the quickest way to connect with the core of your being is to actually focus and place your attention onto your heart center, and you may even want to put a hand onto your heart center. Just from that physical touch of that area will automatically bring your focus, your awareness, your attention onto the heart. And many ask, how do I know the difference between my intuition and my imagination? And some even ask, how do I know that what I perceive is truth? How do I trust my discernment? And my response to those thoughts of inquiry is that your heart will always give you truth. And so connecting in with the energy of what your heart truly wants to convey to you is almost like a litmus test to find out if you are resonating to what's being presented. You are in alignment with the core essence of you through your heart energy, which is connected to your soul energy. And your heart and soul will always want to deliver to you the truth. And it's invested in your own highest good, the most benevolent outcome you can possibly imagine for yourself comes from this place. And now that we have connected deeper to that place, that resonance of our heart and soul core energy, let us now invite in the message from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. The subject of this month, and even partially of last month, is about timing. The timing we talk about now, right now, is more personal than an overview. This particular channel, I want to talk about something that is really part of your everyday life and existence. Now, we have spoken many times about the energy of not just expectations, but of affirmations, of thinking, positive and negative, and what happens when you do. We are going to talk about the timing of synchronicity. So in order to make this channel more complete, there must be a review. In this, a channel about drilling down
to talk about something specific in timing for you, we have to also talk more about the energy. And that energy that we want to talk about mostly is that energy of that which brings to you what you create. Now, you can call that energy whatever you want to, but the way it works is very profound. It's almost too profound, because there will be those who say, Kryon, what you have just told me doesn't exist. If you would interview most humans on the planet, they would tell you that you are born, and if you're lucky, you exist. If you're lucky, you won't have accidents that may terminate your life or cripple you, if you're lucky. And that if you're not lucky, it'll be the opposite. And so it seems to be, at some level, you are a victim of chance. And most would say, that's correct. I mean, why wouldn't it be? You can't control the future. You may not be able to control the future, dear ones, but you can control the present. And we have told you that that which some call the law of attraction is you putting energy in front of you somehow, so that when you arrive at that place where you've put that energy, you get synchronicity. So let's back up and talk a little more about that. There is something around this planet, around the consciousness, that is not even esoteric. It's physical. It is called the field. It is a multi-dimensionality where consciousness, which is energy, resides. This is being studied and validated at so many levels that someday it'll have a name, more than just the field. And those who expect these good things to happen actually put it in the field. And when they do so, it helps to arrange their lives so that as they walk forward, they will have the correct things happen. Let me put it this way. Any road that you might go to and you don't know what it is may have potholes and rocks and smooth areas. So there are those who say you're blindfolded and you may trip on the rocks or step in the potholes, and it's called chance and luck. Then I come along and tell you that if you were to project that you would only be in smooth areas, that there is some kind of energy that leads you into the smooth areas. And that is synchronicity. That is what you call it. Some just call it luck. We call it synchronicity. I'm going to go further. I call it created synchronicity. Now, the synchronicity doesn't always have to be positive. Now, I have talked to you about this before, and I'm going to do it again, because you cannot hear this too many times. If you are always negative, if you are invested in how this planet has victimized you and you'll never get ahead, you are going to create your own synchronicity, and you're going to step in every pothole that exists. Are you getting this? You create that which is your reality as you walk. You're not necessarily creating your future, you're creating your present. But you have put in front of you, your future, an energy of synchronicity. And you've given it a positive twist, a thought. And these are the affirmations that we talk about. Kryon, is this positive thinking? Is this just something you hope for? When it comes to synchronicity, it's not hoping, dear ones. We have given you instructions that said it's almost like ordering on a menu. That if you expect these things every day, on a daily basis, they occur. Now, there would be those who are so linear listening to this, and you're going to say this, well, that's absurd, because if I have a problem and I just don't know the solution, how can I put in front of me the solution, Kryon? So let me, oh linear one, give you the answer to that. Here is your projection. Here is your affirmation. As I walk forward, I will always step into that which will give me solutions to my problems. How about that one? In other words, you don't have to put in front of you absolutely everything that you're wanting or look for or expect, but that which perhaps is even greater. Dear Spirit, let me always walk in the light. Dear Spirit, put me in the best places I can be. Now, the circle of 12, we're going to enhance this just a little more. But there are things that you can give yourself in these affirmations that people don't even think of. What kind of control do you think you have? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had an experience where you were about to do something you'd planned, perhaps something you'd look forward to, perhaps something you expected, and you were stopped? Tonight in the Circle of 12, I'll tell you why. If you are asking to create synchronicity and there's something in front of you that's inappropriate, intuition may stop you if you're tuned into it. I'll tell you what gets in the way, dear ones. What's in the way is where you set your mind to something no matter what. And you get all kinds of esoteric signs and signals and intuition. Perhaps you should wait. Perhaps you should wait. And you move forward and you step in a pothole. I think some of you have had this experience as well. We are talking about one of the greatest tools in the new energy, and it's being enhanced. Some of you who are learning how this works have had these things happen more than one time. Some of you are expecting things, starting to learn how this feels, and using it every day of your life. Waking up in the morning and saying, no matter what happens to me this day, I will project the things that will solve them, being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, and staying tuned up, being attuned to the synchronicity that I need to see. There are those also starting to understand that those you meet along the way may very well have something for you, even though it doesn't seem like it. Those perhaps you will meet and you would just simply say hello and dismiss them and move on, may have some kind of a package for you that will change your life. So that means that you have to perhaps examine situations differently. The Spirit brings to you because you ask for them. You simply didn't recognize them. More than synchronicity. Now we're talking about gifts that you have actually projected and asked for that sometimes you miss. Timing. Timing. It's a beautiful thought, is it not? That perhaps you as a human being have control over your life. I want you to think with me for just a moment, maybe even project your life. There you sit. Now, some of you, perhaps this is, for some of you, it's new. And you'd like perhaps a little more idea about what I'm talking about. So let's go through it. It's so important that you understand that this is doable, more than doable. This is something that you can use now, every day, practical, esoteric information that works. Dear Spirit, I'm uncertain about my future. Dear Spirit, I may have this or that. Dear God, however you want to say it. You say, let me project in front of me what I need for me. Not for others, but for me. And in the process, let me find that what I do will then be for others. Dear Spirit, let me walk into my solutions. Dear Spirit, bring me the right scenarios and the right people and the right relationships that I need to have to move forward in love. The best one we told you about many times. Dear Spirit, show me what I need to know. And if you have the courage to say that, also have the courage to dismiss what you expect. What if you were expecting A and you got B and B was far more valuable than A? But you were so stuck on A, you went down the A path and you missed B. These are things that you have to get used to. Dismissing the expectation and being okay with something better. You never know what Spirit is going to give you, especially when you're so open to love and more beauty than you even expected. You're magnificent. God loves you so much, so willing to take your hand and leading you right into the synchronicity that you deserve. Timing, more than luck. You do not live in a chance world if you choose to use the tool for a smooth path. I would not tell you these things if they were not true. And so many have experienced this exact same thing. So many of you. Blessed is a human being who understands the power they really have over everyday life and occurrences. Relax in this, dear ones. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Please make yourself comfortable where you are sitting, in your living room, in your office, in your patio or your bedroom. Adjust your space. If you feel comfortable too, you may gently close your eyes and bring your awareness more into your body, and from there to your energy. Take slow, conscious, nourishing breath, aware of the flow. Breathe and allow yourself to feel the energy of Source, of who you really are. Take another slow breath and relax deeper, opening more into your own being, into your love, into your divinity, into your beauty and magnificence, acknowledging as fully as you can your multidimensionality, the soul presence of who you truly are. Breathe and love yourself even more at this moment. And not only connecting with your soul deeper, but with all the other souls that are joining with us this morning and for the next 4 days in this beautiful multidimensional and internet experience, joining hearts and joining minds and joining in our energy, creating more coherence, bringing more awareness, expanding more our consciousness, stepping deeper into our wisdom, into our gifts, into our benevolence, into our space of joy. Breathe and love yourself even more. Allow yourself to connect deeper, expanding more, and feeling the love from all that is, and from the family beyond our physical presence that is joining us as well, with their support, with their unconditional love. Allow yourself to relax more, to feel more, to know more, to grow, and to understand. Take another deep breath. And as we are preparing this foundation of energy for ourselves for today, let us open our hearts, our energy, to the love, the wisdom, and guidance from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. For those who have not heard this message before, I give you a common message that I want you to hear, that I want you to understand fully. God, Spirit, the creative source, whatever you wish to call it, that which created you and all that is, knows what's happening right here, where you sit as you listen. I've said this before as well, that we are in a multi-dimensional place, and it's very difficult for you to understand that this message that I give now, even when it is listened to later, has the same effect. We know who you are, and in all beautiful love, we care about you, wherever you are, wherever you sit. Whatever has happened in your life is known by all those angels, if you wish to call it that, who surround you. As you sit there, I want you to understand that no matter what you have been told about who God might be, it is a caring, loving, beautiful, kind Creator that has put you here. There are so many right now who are saying, what is happening on the earth? This feels so different. And because of the difference, so many are in fear. Sometimes there's really nothing to fear, but you're in fear anyway. And the reason is because it's different. Humans love sameness. They don't like change that much unless they are planning it or in control of it or expect it. So sometimes there is fear simply because you don't know what's coming. Dear ones, for 31 years, I have been telling you about change. In 1993, the first book that was released told you about now. It told you that you would not then have a termination of humanity on or about the year 2000 or even in the first 10 years after 2000. That the scriptures that you have come to know and study said otherwise. And we told you this is changed. This is something you changed. The future has changed. It is changed. And that is what the message of that book was, called The End Times. A funny title, some would say. A fearful doom title, some would say. But it's a metaphor. It's the end of an old time. The book title reflects that of the message of the Maya calendar. And so many of the indigenous of this planet who saw that something was coming, for thousands of years looking into the skies, they realized there was an earth wobble of about 26,000 years. And the indigenous and the ancients, who were often guided by the stars and the positions of them, the equinoxes and all of these things, saw something coming. It would be when that wobble of the earth would center itself and start a new wobble. And that centering would happen in December 21, 2012. And that became then the marker. And you might notice that in your scriptures, for all of these years, you have seen that the earth wouldn't make it. There would be so much. The World War III, the Armageddon, whatever you wanted to call it, was prophesied everywhere. You really weren't expected to make it. But you did. I arrived in 1989 with a grand message. And the message was that there would be no Armageddon. The End Times book stated this clearly. Something else was going to happen. Dear ones, you're sitting right now in that something else. You moved past that which was the prediction of the end. And here you are sitting at a time that has really no predictions. Did you think of that? Whether it's your scripture, whether it's Nostradamus, whether it's the esoterics, there are no ancient predictions that bring you to this place. Oh, there are plenty of current ones. And the current ones are still often doom and gloom. Just lately, you've been given information, if it's not frightening enough, about things to happen in the next few months. And the astrology, it actually would confirm issues that you are going through if you looked at it. Never in your life have there been most of the planets in retrograde. Did you think of that? Interesting times, isn't it, that you are living in? I had a name for it, and I want to revisit that in this message. The name I gave for it just recently, right now, is the winter of consciousness. Let me tell you how this is working so you'll feel better about the fact that you are on target, on schedule. I told you there would be changes. 31 years. The messages have wound up to this place. Some have been cryptic, some metaphoric. But I told you that, dear ones, there is change coming. And I also told you that if you wanted to know more about what that change really truly was, you might see the predictions of the ancients who said, if you made it past that precession of equinox, past that 2012 time, if you made it, it would be the beginning of the highest consciousness the planet had ever had. With high consciousness, you have the end of war. You don't have the end of disagreements, dear one, because humans have free choice. You have the end of war, the kind that would terminate humanity. Now, some have said, well, that's impossible. The impossibility is that human nature will always drive you to the same place. I have news for you. Contrary to anything you've ever studied or heard or been taught, human nature is a moving target. Human nature starts to change with a higher consciousness maturity. What's been happening on your planet that you would said you never thought would happen? Not the pandemic. I'm talking about things that were different. Perhaps good news that you never thought would happen. For hundreds of years, there has been an inequality with the genders, so much so that one gender would be over another, and the other gender, the women, could do nothing about it. It wasn't just hundreds of years, perhaps it was human nature for thousands of years. And suddenly that changed with what you call the Me Too movement. Now, dear ones, think about it. That is a maturing of human nature and consciousness. That's when a confluence happens. That is a majority, if you wish, an intermingling of a higher idea that starts to take hold and starts to work. You've had some of the clergy for hundreds of years been responsible for abhorrent things with children and got away with it. And now you have even the leader of the clergy making differences. We predicted that leader. We predicted that leader would make those changes. That's the first time in hundreds of years that you're starting to see dark things come out into the open and be settled. You are right now in a place where other things are coming to the surface. I speak now to those of my partner's citizenship in America. It's time for change, and you know it. It's not that which happened in the past where the change would happen, but really wouldn't. Meaning that it would rear its head again, and there would be demonstrations, and there would be those who were distraught in the horror of what happens, and inequalities. And then they would go away, and then they'd recur, and then they'd go away, and then they'd recur. But now, dear ones, it's just like these other things I'm telling you. The reason you see so much unrest right now in this country is that finally they're looking for a solution. And they're not going to let it go unless there's a solution. This is different. This is a change. This is what we've been talking about, and here it is. Some interpret this as the worst thing that could happen, and you say, look at the unrest and look at all of this and what's happening. What's happening is maturity. What's happening is growing up. What's happening is that the old ways are not going to work anymore. The winter of consciousness is a description, a metaphor of the seasons. You are at the winter where the leaves are falling off the trees and it's becoming bitter cold and you don't know what's next. What follows winter, dear ones? You know. The sun will come out. The trees will have leaves again. That is a metaphor for things that start to be solved. Nothing happens quickly here. You know that. Nothing. But at least the seeds can be planted and grow that start solutions. And Americans will start a process of not electing anyone unless they are on board with the solutions. Do you see how this may be different? Do you see? If you are one watching this and not an American, you may look here and see so much unrest and say, what is going on with your country? I just gave it to you. And this country is not alone. There are some things happening on the planet, not as much in this country, that are also going to be exposed soon. The slavery of young women who are taken from their families and sometimes birthed in places just to be of service to men. Slavery. Dear ones, it's rampant. There are thousands. And it's all underground, you might say. It's always been there. Suddenly, it's going to rear its head. I want you to see how it's being funded. Then I want you to take a breath. You won't believe it. And it's going to come forth. All part of a new human nature. This is the message of Kryon. If you want to say, what is the overall message? It's always been this. You'd reach a time when you'd start to grow up. Grow up in maturity, in consciousness, so you would never kill one another in mass in a war. Unconscionable is the word. A higher consciousness that starts to make sense on the planet where you start to get along. And that your leaders, they won't last long unless they echo what the old souls of this planet are going to demand. Solutions or the beginning of them. Progress, finally. That's what's going on. Can you sit and celebrate it in the pandemic when you're experiencing, in some places, a reboot? of the way things are. The new normal, a word that I've used now for some years, is here. The new human, which I've used for years, is here. That's what's going on right now. Do you have the courage to celebrate it wherever you sit, no matter what's going on in your life? Can you sit and be peaceful for a moment? Can you sit and be healed of fear and anxiety for a moment? Can you sit and realize how much you're loved for a moment? A spotlight comes on you, and you realize the angels are here and they're looking. And there's so much love. You will get through all of this, old soul. One of the reasons you're here, to hear some of the things that may help. I'm Kryon in love with humanity. And this is the message, and always will be, for a new human on a new planet called Earth. And so it is.
Take another breath and just let your awareness of the Star Mother's promise that when we awaken from our sleep of humanity, when these codes are being used to give you a new awareness, their promise to us is that our intuitive inner guidance will begin to come on in a way that we have not experienced. So as you take another breath and settle into that promise and that prophecy of the love from the Star Mothers, the love from Kryon and the entourage, and how we are in delicious gratitude for being here together at this time, in this place as family, and all that is being offered to us, and all that we have to share. We thank the source of all love. We thank that love that resides deep inside of us, in our hearts, in our souls, and in our Akashic memory, as we move from the unseen to the seen in our life, in our world. Take another breath and let that open the place inside of you that is here to receive these beautiful messages, these pearls of wisdom and truth that will echo in your being. And you will say, yes, this is why I am here.
So it is good day to you, huh? Very good to see your energy, your light, your brightness, your divine presence. We give thanks to the Star Mothers for their presence as well. You see, there are so many tools that you can use. We want to remind you that they are tools. It is like, have you ever tried to drive a nail into a board without using a hammer? It is not an easy task. It is better to use the correct tool, yes? Have you ever tried to listen to someone's heartbeat without using a stethoscope? You can hear the heartbeat, but it's not as clear. So it is important to have the correct tools. Our vessel Marilyn was reminded of some of the tools this morning. Not that we ask you to give your power away to others who have all kinds of things to do for you, but someone in this group said something about drawing a card this morning. And our vessel Marilyn realized she did not draw one either. So we drew one for you. This card is from an app, the miracles of modern technology, that is wisdom of our dearest friend Kryon, in the energy as it comes through. And she drew the same card that she picked in the physical deck as she did in the electronic deck. That is why she had to read it to you, because it must mean something. To remind you that your innate, you know what that is, yes? Your innate knows exactly what your body needs. My intuition calls, tells, acknowledges me, and connects the intimate that is within. My body celebrates the success of our communication. Not mine necessarily, but ours, as in the collective, huh? And the results are radiant health and vitality. Huh? What does it mean to have radiant health and vitality? How many of you would like that? Huh? So these group over here, you don't necessarily want that radiant health. Is that correct? Thank you. You see, it is only our own belief that we cannot have it that seems to stop us sometimes. We know that illness is connected to an emotional body. Illness is connected to emotion. And now sometimes we say, it is difficult to tell someone who has a diagnosis of cancer, well, why did you create that, huh? That is not what we are saying. How you respond to that is what we are saying. To have the correct tools in your toolbox, and to know that the correct tools in your toolbox are your innate. They are within you. Your intuition never leaves you. Sometimes you want it to speak as loud as some big actor on the television or on the big movie screen, IMAX size voice. And instead it is the size of a voice that is like the smallest butterfly. But you see, that innate is still there. Take a deep breath. Just as the star mothers are still there. Take a deep breath. Just as the guidance of Kryon is still there. Take a deep breath. And dearest beings of light, even though it may surprise you, the energy of Adironda is still there. Take a deep breath. You see, they are each a part of your innate. They are each a part of that wisdom that is anchoring in every cell of your field. They are each a part of you, even though they may not sound like Arvis or Marilyn or us or Lee Carroll or the divine Amber. They may sound like you. So you get the opportunity to understand and breathe into those tools. Breathe into that wisdom, because that wisdom is love. That wisdom is that energy that is within you 24/7. Even if you get angry with that love and send it away in the form of some human body, too bad. The body just may leave, but not the love. For that love is, what do they say it is? Eternal, infinite. And that love is in every cell of your body, no matter what. Even if it has cells that have been diagnosed with some disease or some ailment, or you have that pain in your back or pain in your neck and your pain in your patootie. Yes, you see, that is just the universe asking you, so are you a pain in the patootie sometimes? And if you are, why? What is that reflection? How are you to grow from it? How are you to magnify yourself into the drive that is coming in, into the wisdom that is you? As we have asked you yesterday to stop denying your own wisdom and start breathing into it. That is what we are anchoring in you right now. Take a deep breath. As you say yes. Yes to the wisdom. Yes to the love. Yes to the anchoring of the energy. Dearest beings of light, that are you. You know, when you say to yourself, oh, I've got this pain, this anchor, this blah, 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 blah. Do you know, we've told you many times before, that is your purchase order. Our vessel Marilyn and the Joy says, change your bracelet. Stop complaining about something that you can do something about. Well, stop complaining about everything. Period. Because that complaint is every much a purchase order as, I'm perfect and wonderful and healthy. Now the key is, when you say I'm perfect and wonderful and healthy, your cells get to buy that. And sometimes there's a little voice inside of your head that says, oh, that's not true. How many of you have heard that little voice? Huh? So these three people up here, let's talk to you. So you see, when you hear that little voice that seems to argue with every positive thought you're asking your heart to feel, trust that your heart knows the truth. Breathe. And that little voice, we actually teach you tomorrow, on Monday, how to quiet that little voice and how to channel. But today, let us just turn to that little voice, it is not monkey mind, because we love monkeys. It is your voice, your ego, that says that you cannot. So just turn to it and say, thank you. I love you. Now be quiet. Just be quiet. I've got this one. For you see, your ego is a part of you. Our vessel Marilyn keeps asking, but why? And that is how you grow. That is how you evolve. But you are still in charge of it. You're innate. And the innate is much, 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 much. Did you get that much? Larger than your ego. So just love it where it is and ask it to be quiet. So you can acknowledge the perfect divine health that you are. The perfect divine love that you are. The perfect divine radiance that you are. And for that, we are grateful. Just as we are grateful for you. And you. And you. Now be grateful for yourself, huh? We honor you. And we bid you namaste. Namaste.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Beautiful message about Aranda. It's about enablement, dear ones. It speaks of what you can do. And you might ask, why is it that channel after channel continues to list these kinds of things as though you didn't know them? And the answer is because you didn't know them. And so I want to then revisit an energy shift just briefly And it's going to sound like something perhaps we have said before, and you'd be right. Because these are the messages of the age. Things that will be repeated in different words for a long time. They must, because they are different and there are new ears to hear them and new eyes to read them. And it basically stems from an old versus new paradigm of existence. Most of those who would listen to these kinds of channelings, these kinds of spiritual messages, most of you have slogged through a time where the energy was far different. Just a few years ago, dear ones, I tell you that the things that you would call dark or negative, or that which you would call resistance to light, was very powerful. Those of you who would look at history know this, absolutely know this. Where you would see that history is packed with dysfunction and sadness and horror, all caused by that which is a dark energy which seemed to prevail on this planet, and not just a while ago, but for a very long time. We've spoken of an evolvement of your human spirit, an evolvement even of your DNA, which allows some magnificent things. But the biggest thing is enablement. The question would be asked, well, why do we have to keep telling you what you can accomplish? Shouldn't it be then obvious to you? And the answer, it is not obvious. Because of the past that you have walked through, because of the things that you've experienced that did not work, because of the sadness that you've had over and over when you tried things with light and they seemed to be beat back. This was the age, dear ones, of a disconnection. This is the age of a connection. To make things even more difficult, those of you in spiritual systems, we're told that it is not possible for the human soul to contact or talk to, or even be part of a discussion with, that which is the creative source. That there is a disconnection. You were also told by the millions, if not billions, that you were born on this planet dysfunctional, perhaps even dirty, and somehow that kept you from connecting. And this has been the story. Enhanced it is by the energy of the past, the feelings of the past, the paradigm of feeling helpless. Even if you were spiritual, it was tough. And suddenly we are saying that what the ancients predicted is here. That with the precession of the equinoxes and more, you enter an age of compassion that you earned. We also told you this was not necessarily going to happen this way. In fact, many of your prophecies did not have you living much past the year 2000 or even 2010. So many of the dark prophecies, we'll call them, had humanity terminated. And you didn't go that direction. Instead, you're here. Instead, you're here in a new energy paradigm. And that is what you're not fully aware of or realizing. You'll come to a meeting like this. You'll listen to a channel like this. And you'll say, what pearls of wisdom today do you have, Kryon? And I will say to you, the pearl of wisdom is wake up to the new energy which is here and has been here for years, enabling you to drop the things that you don't need and pick up the things that you do, the tools that are here, just like Adironda said. And the biggest tool is connection. You are connected. You have the ability of direct communication. You always have. But in this energy, it's so obvious. It ought to be self-evident. You can sit and connect to the Creator itself, that which puts you here, soul by soul. And we say it yet again and again. Doesn't it make sense that the love, the amazing love of God, doesn't it make sense that there would be a system of loving contact with you? Every soul on this planet is actually a piece of the Creator. Hard for you to understand. But in a multidimensional way, it's easy. Things are all connected. The oneness of everything. You are one with the Creator. But even more, your soul belongs to the Creator. And in that, you are entitled to sit and communicate, to stand and communicate, to be one with the Creator, to ask for intuition, to pick up the tools, to change your life, not have somebody you have to go through. You are magnificent, born magnificent. It's time to see that, open that door. That door that's been hidden all of this time by others who would tell you, you can't, you won't, you shouldn't. And suddenly you can see the door shining before you and you open it. And that door will yell at you, new energy, magnificence. This is who you are. This is what's been hiding. And now the wind is at your back. That's the message. It always has been the message. And the reason we keep repeating it, because the past is still with you. What you couldn't do, you carry into this meeting. What you were told is or is not possible was carried into this meeting intact. And yet we have to tell you one more time that there is an enablement happening here that is different from anything, anytime, ever on this planet. This is new. And the only way you're going to believe it is to claim it. A moment ago, Adironda said that what stops you is the belief. If you don't believe it, how are you going to claim it? How is it going to be possible? You've got to drop the old paradigm of unworthiness and disbelief. Take a deep breath and say, all the things that I was told are questionable in this energy. Everything I was told is questionable in this energy. And there were those who say, oh, I understand, you're supposed to drop what you were told by others, and now it's time to believe Kryon. I am going to tell you the truth. What I want you to do is believe in yourself. What I want you to do is try these things. Cognize that you can do them. And with your abilities and tools to move forward. How many of you were told that you couldn't change your biology? You catch a disease, it's over. Did you know that that is completely and totally changed? That consciousness, being energy, can actually imbue itself into the cells of your body and speak to the disease and say, you are inappropriate here. And they'll get the message. Did you know you could increase your lifespan? How many of those in charge of your spirituality and the systems told you that? Was that something completely and reserved for the prophet? And you couldn't? Or is it possible the prophet was showing you what you could do all of this time? That's the door you open. That's enablement. That's your magnificence. That's the message. That's the message we're going to continue, even into later today. The wind is at your back in a way that never has been. God knows who you are in a way that's connected to you as never before. You ought to think of these things. I'm not here for you to believe me. I'm here for you to take the information and experiment with it and try it. And what you take away will be your discovery in your words and your energy. And that's the way it must be for things to change on this planet. Not humans believing in still another doctrine, but humans believing in themselves. There's more. And so it is. Hello, I'm Lee Carroll.
And so I want to ask, what is your intent for this message that you're about to receive? What questions do you have? What issues are in your life right now? Because Kryon tells us, Spirit tells us, that you are known and you are loved by God, the Creator, Spirit, however you wish to pose that question to the all-being, all-knowingness. You are loved and known, and so are your issues and challenges loved and known. And so how do we receive the solutions? It's allowing our intellect to step aside, connecting into your heart center, allowing your breathing to become very slow and rhythmic, allowing that connection to the heart and letting the intellect of the mind drift away into the background. It's always going to be there, but we can just tell that intellect to just be quiet, just soften, just go into the mist of clouds in the background so that we can sit and receive a message that is being given directly for you.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are always those who would say, this is a message from the other side of the veil. And in those places on the other side of the veil, of course, they have their own reality, and it isn't the human reality, so they have no idea what might be happening on the planet. Dear ones, this is a very old and linear idea. You can track it back to the ancients who look at God as apart from humans. And humans then are lowly, and they have their own reality, and the gods have no idea. It couldn't be further from what is actually happening. Let me ask you, if you had a scenario where you give birth to your children and somehow they go on a journey, and you don't really meet them, and somebody else raises them and they are there, but you can see them clearly, you can see every move, and you love them beyond measure, how would you feel about it? And the answer, you'd be on the sideline, you'd be cheering with them and crying with them and trying to reach through the veil at them, perhaps, and saying, look, we're here, we're here, we're here, we're not apart from you, we're here. This is how it is. The creative source, indeed, is your home. This is a metaphor of how Spirit, how God, how it works. And it works through that which is your soul. And we have said this before, and especially on these Healing Wednesdays, because the connection with your soul is the next step on the way to phenomenal healing, peace, longer life. And because of that, and what I have said, there are those who would say, yes, but what happened to prayer? We've told you, especially on the premiere show of these Healing Wednesdays, we told you that there would be layers of the onion on a human being, a metaphor that there are layers and layers of belief and ideas and things you've been taught and told and experienced that are now changing, and they're changing because of evolution of consciousness. You are starting to get revelations that are beyond and above what you're told. Now, there are some who simply say, no, that's not accurate. We're going to stick with everything spiritual we were told. And Kryon, you're now eliminating prayer. So let me tell you the truth. It's always been the truth. This prayer that you have right now is so simple compared to what it can be. Right now, it's a linear idea when you speak to Spirit. You hope Spirit's listening. You know it works. Prayer works. It always has. And all over the planet, there's prayer. So when you go into that healing circle, what is happening? I will tell you suddenly. It's a prayer that is so much stronger, but not just stronger. Suddenly you sit in the circle with Spirit. And instead of a prayer where you're starting to plead to a source perhaps that you're just believing is there, suddenly you are at the crux of it. And why? Because the soul is part of the Creator. Do you understand this? You are not apart from God any more than you are apart from your children. You realize that they carry part of your imprint wherever they go, your children. You might say they are made in your image. This is the same with the Creator. Your soul is part of that creative source, and it is part of you and the human. What are we saying here? When we get to the circle of 12, dear ones, we invite you to pray in any way that you want to, and you're going to find that prayer is not what it was. Suddenly you are in the middle of the energy that we talk about. Beautiful, this soul of yours. What we are telling you is that there is an evolution of energy that is spiritual on the planet. And it's not just for those who believe a certain way. It's for everyone. There will be these revelations of maturity for anyone, especially the old souls, the ones who've been here over and over. There will be these revelations, obtainable, believing anything you want to, if you wish, about who cannot receive. That is so linear. That's what humans do. They put God in boxes and say, you can have this, you can't have this, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it right. I'll tell you, when you get to that place where you step into the soul energy, all of you are equal. Every single one. There's no doctrine that says you can't do it, because your soul is yours. You step into the closet, nobody's going to take a soul from you. Even in death, they don't take a soul from you. You step into that closet and you pretend to be alone. You're not. You have the circle of 12. You have all of that, which is you. You're Akash. You have the loving ones on the other side of the veil who know you and are saying, we see you there in the closet. We've said this for years. You don't know what you don't know. There are still those who say, well, you're changing things a little too much from what I learned. The invitation is, let the onion be peeled from what you've been taught and what you think you know, the energies that you experience, perhaps to something bigger and grander, more beautiful and more pure. The love expands. The prayer gets stronger. All of the things that you love about God, all of the things that you now have gotten used to in this linear world are about to change and get stronger, better, pure, more loving, more compassionate. All of that because of this that you've gone through, this change, this shift that happened in 2012. The planet, again, is starting to evolve and become more mature. And the first ones that will receive that are the kind of consciousness that would watch a program like this, The Old Soul. Look at who subscribes to this particular program. It will be the ones who are interested, of course. And the interested ones start to feel a tug, a pull. And they say, I want a place where I can go every week and just sit and be safe and be loved. This is the crux of that which we have created, that I told my partner to do. The channels, the circle, there'll be a similarity on purpose to every single Wednesday, where we will invite you to come and sit for a while. And in that, there's a shield that goes up. Really, you can feel it. If you'll turn off, perhaps, all those things that might disturb you, the telephones, all the things that might ding and ring and and call for your attention. And there's a shield that starts to go up with intent that says, I want this to be a safe place. I want to go to a multidimensional place for a little while and sit and be loved. I want to sit with that which I know is inside my soul, which is the creative source of the universe. So I'll say it again. That which you think is inappropriately being changed is simply the onion being peeled. You got the first version. You got the children's story. As good as it was, dear ones, you are now graduating into a much larger area of knowledge, of love, of kindness, of appreciation, of what you really might have inside, which is a real strong conduit of prayer that you never had before. These Wednesdays are for you, and they will continue in their similarity to allow you to sit in the same place every single time, and perhaps even meet new entities, energies, because as your onion starts to peel, every single time you show up, there will be new revelations, new things to be learned, the ahas of your life. That's what we're here for. That's the channeling of today. It's about you always. It's about the enhancements that you have to connect with the Creator in a way you never really even thought you could. And so it is.